Picture this. It's the early 2000s. A young preteen is watching anime in a pre-Crunchyroll world.
Kiss, kiss, fall in love.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Fine then, I'll just create my own anime. I don't know how to animate like this. Now, picture this. It's present day, and a young preteen is watching YouTube on their iPad. These animations are awesome. I want to make some. In only a few years, the access to technology that young artists have has changed immensely. That kid in the early 2000s, that was me. I really wanted to replicate the animes I was watching, but all I had was a pencil and some paper. And with no understanding of how to animate, I just drew comics instead. It's way more common for young people to get things such as smartphones or iPads today than it was back then. Not to mention how much more advanced these devices are now. I love that more people are getting into animating at such a young age. But there's a trend I see with young creators that I think is slowing down their progression. If you're making animations or videos, there is an incentive to push out content like there is no tomorrow. I think the animation meme trend really exemplifies this. Every week there is a new song that people are animating to, and it's a rush to be on top of the trend to stay relevant. Because of this, the actual content of the animation is greatly lacking. If you watch more than one animation meme, it becomes very obvious very quickly that they are all exactly the same. A character does a quick action or head bob, usually center screen, and then another, and another, and then it repeats for 30 seconds until the song ends. Maybe it breaks with a cool editing effect, but in the end, it is a short, simple, and honestly, more of an animatic than an actual animation. There are a few animation meme animators I can think of that break this mold, but these artists have usually been animating much longer than a majority of the people making these animation memes. And they usually take much longer time to create their animations as well. In this video, I wanted to show you why spending more time on animations is worth it, and why young artists should stop rushing out animations and actually spend a long time on everything they make. Not only will you create something unique and refreshing, but you will be able to really polish your animations. If you never make an attempt to animate something more complicated than someone head bobbing, how will you ever learn? In order to get this to work, I've sat down and created 2 different animation memes. One I made in one day, and one in 1 week. I do have an animation education, so what I make may greatly differ from what you may be able to make. But if you're curious, I suggest giving this experiment a go yourself, and see just how much of a difference there is. Let's start off with the 1 week animation. First, I chose an animation meme that's currently popular. One that's interesting enough, but also not long, so I could feasibly make it in a day. I picked the close-up song, since it was super fun, but also easily looped. After watching a few of the videos other people made of this song, I had a basic idea of what I wanted to animate. First, I drew out an animatic to lay out the characters. Then I went right into animating. I made sure to keep the movements super short, simple, and not have crazy camera angles. I didn't want to start over complicating things and be unable to finish it. I'm using characters that I've mastered drawing quickly, so I didn't have to do any sketching of their actions first. I cut out a lot of time by going right into the full character designs. I originally had an idea of having the camera pan between characters in the first part. I drew everyone in the same shot so I could add the camera in later. I also only animated each action once. If it appeared again before the music scratched, I just copied it. The entire thing was going to be looped again after the scratch, so I only animated the first half so I could duplicate it in the final edit. To get the characters to pan, I animated within symbols to keep everything within Animate. I didn't want to be spending so much time editing things in post that I didn't need to, so symbols saved me a lot of time. Lipsync is the part that always takes me the longest. It is by far the hardest thing to get right the first time you do it. Most animation memes don't have any mouth movements. I could have cut time out by not doing any lip sync, but if the whole body is moving, it would look wrong if the mouth wasn't moving. Next was the cleanup. Since Animate is a vector program, the line art was super easy to bang out by having the smoothing up really high. By using my simpler art style, I didn't have to spend a crazy amount of time adding fine details to the lines either. Parts like the mouth I didn't have to redraw, I just changed the sketch layer to be black. After that comes coloring, by far the easiest thing to do in Animate. I didn't make any new layers, I just filled in the line art I had already created. The Draw Inside tool helped me fill in parts that had different colors within a color, and Draw Behind helped fill a gap. Since I was crunched for time, I didn't do any shading at all. Finally, I added in a background. I just made a floor line for the parts where you could see the floor, and I created a simple gradient to be the universal background. I didn't have time to flesh out an actual place for this animation to be, so they just kind of exist in space. I added the bars for the camera and tested some camera movements, which I ended up not liking, so I scrapped them. Finally, it was onto the composite. I threw the export of the final animation into Premiere to easily edit. I first cut out the animation and copied it so it would repeat. Next was getting the broken camera effect. Aaron, the character holding the camera, drops it, causing it to glitch out and repeat the animation. After doing some Google searching, I figured out how to make the video effect I was looking for. However, I wanted the camera bars to be in front of the glitch, so I took that entire segment and slapped it into After Effects. I masked out the 4 bars on the corner of the image so they were the only thing on the layer. Back in Premiere, I fiddled with the timing until it was perfect. Then I copied this and threw it at the end. I then took the ending scratch sound from the original song and extended it so I could pad out the end screen time. Next, I added in title and end screen text super quickly, also adding in a place for my icon. Finally, I was done. This whole thing took me 9 hours to put together. I only stopped to eat or use the bathroom when I got desperate, but I was successful in making an animation meme in a day.
Scratch that, I'm ready. Close up. Close up? Oh, so you can enjoy it too. What's up? What's up? So you can enjoy it too.
In the next video, I'll be diving into how I made the 1 week animation. I will take you into my process and show you why you should be taking a lot more time to plan out your projects. Not only will they be far more interesting, but they will be so much more unique and not just reiterating something someone else did that exact same way.